Yeah, well, I mean, it has been a sort of a lively couple of days in the sense that I think actually my conception of time over the last 6 months has been structured around like FAI windows and times and periods. And we're facing more delays now actually because we did have a firm date in the diary next Monday as finally we will have a review finished. There'll be a review to, some kind of review findings to dissect or I don't know, analyse, and now that particular one, which was the Sport Ireland COSI FAI audit, has been delayed. So again, it seems like we're constantly being kicked back into time.
And it felt like yesterday when that news came through that there was a few lines, and so basically the letter got published from the Chief Executive of Sport Ireland to the Oireachtas Committee looking for a delay in their next appearance.
They've been invited in, October 16th.
But there was also a bit of, as per our governance, we have to give everybody an opportunity. Everybody's mentioned in it. This is all coming from the previous Oireachtas Committee rulings where everybody needs all the information in case there's going to be anything suggested about them, because massive legal bills will ensue and damages can ensue if you haven't been given the opportunity to see what somebody's about to say about you in public. So I think this could actually be months and months and months and months. This is not a short-term couple of weeks thing. This is actually when that because when that report's finished, they're going to have to give it to everybody who's mentioned in it, and then their lawyers are going to have time to consider it, and their changes or their case against that findings there was just one line that I was like, oh, is that what's going to happen here? It
was open to interpretation a bit. I mean, the key line was obviously, and I've done a piece on this today, it was in light of developments in recent days. I mean, if you read the actual scope of what COSI were going to do, while ostensibly it was about, because it was commissioned by Sport Ireland, it was essentially about the FAI's use of state funding. The actual the scope for what they were looking for was extremely detailed in terms of sort of details of credit card, bank statements. Even if you read into it, like HR files and stuff, over a period of time, primarily centred around 2015 to 2018. So while it's not referenced directly in the email, in the letter, that in light of recent days, I mean, there's obviously been a very significant HR development with John Delaney's departure, and clearly off the back of this, COSI they're requesting more information from the FAI, which has a domino effect in terms of because it did appear. I mean, as of maybe last week,
that it was ready to go.
Told it was ready to go, which was around the time actually when I'd heard that the Delaney thing, while talks might be back on, that it was still a couple of months away.
Okay.
So that's a resolution has been found in that quickly. But what I would take from it, I'm not so sure about the timeline being that pushed back. You could be correct.
I hope you're right.
I mean, it certainly is a delay, but certainly what you do take from it is that that all the eyes are on the FAI still. That ultimately, if there was a belief that, well, this deal is done and that will have no impact on the timeline of stuff this autumn or this winter, well, it's just not deemed satisfactory anymore. It's not deemed satisfactory that a deal of that consequence wouldn't be in some way dealt with in these reviews, although it still is quite hard to clarify at times how much power these reviews have really truly to look into fully the affairs of what is a private institution that takes public funding. It's not a completely public institution. So there's
it's only a small amount of public funding.
Yeah,
really,
so there's an element of a grey area there. But I mean, I think I make the point that their independence is not quite what it was, no matter what slant they put on it, because that public funding freeze is held over them, and as a result, it's a great power to have to say, well, state funding is still suspended. You haven't done everything we want for state funding to be activated again, and they can sort of push it and push it and push it in a way that leaves the FAI's control quite limited.
Yeah, with the caveat though that if UEFA decide that they're going to bankroll it until they get back on their feet, then that there is one other alternative source of cash, which is a way out for them. And like, if we're relying on the government to be the gatekeepers of the FAI, then we're screwed, because we saw what Shane Ross was like. We saw what the government have done. They were happy as Larry for John Delaney to continue the way he was doing. We saw Shane Ross get a load of tickets for games for his constituents from John Delaney. Like, we saw what happened. So the FAI needs to somehow be reborn, and it's not going to be reborn with Donald Conway as the
No, that's the way things are going.
still in situ.
That's the way the things are going. And I mean, you're completely right. I mean, I could not agree more that, like, any portrayal of Shane Ross and the government as like the righteous defenders of the game of football in this country, like it's nonsensical. I mean, they just weren't interested a year ago. And I think even Sport Ireland, I think, would probably are rightly open to scrutiny in terms of this process. So it may not necessarily be fair, you know, to a degree, the extent to which they can wield this power. But I think it wasn't a month ago or so, was it an announcement of sort of funding for like women in sport, and it was like zero for the FAI.
Yeah.
Now again, you know, you could spin that in another way. If you were in the FAI, you're like, well, hang on, what are you trying to achieve here?
Yeah.
And I do get that, but I mean, you are right that it is the issues such as, I think there's a possible feeling of inevitability about Donald Conway's position, in that it seems like it's going to be very hard for them to activate it until they see they want certain people gone. I mean, Noel Mooney will be moving on. He probably would have liked, I think, to have played a role going forward, but he won't be. So these are just the rules of the game now, and this is, as much as the FAI will, and correctly, I mean, UEFA are keeping the show on the road, but the optics of your funding from the state being suspended, talking about large scale projects like Dalymount and Glanmire and all these things, you can't be seen to be behaving in a way that might jeopardise these things.
Yeah.